How do we speak about our Easter hope in a week where there is so much despair around us in the wider world? Despair in the faces of those who are traumatized, injured and bereaved following the horrific attacks in Brussels. Despair of hundreds of thousands of refugees fleeing conflict in Syria and across that region, longing to make a new life and to do that in a place of safety. Despair in countries like Burundi, where conflict is continuing to simmer and political instability creates high levels of fear. For some people, on a more personal level, feelings of despair will be closer to home. The loss of a loved one, the loss of a job, a broken relationship, perhaps tension at work. All these things can make it very hard to be hopeful about the future. That's why this week is so significant, not just for Christian people, but for all people. Holy Week proves beyond doubt that God not only understands the pain of human suffering and despair, God enters into it. At the time, the innocent suffering of Jesus made no sense at all to his disciples looking on. It seemed their best hopes had been altogether dashed. But they would soon understand that in God's plan, his plan for the human race, Jesus' suffering had a higher purpose. And 3 days later, on that first Easter morning, a bright hope burst into our world when the angels announced to the women who came early to the tomb, "He is not here," they said. "He is risen." Then Jesus met with his disciples, and new hope and new peace flooded into their hearts, so much so that in the years to come, they would risk everything to bring the hope of the risen Christ to all the world. Now, through Lent, I've been spending a day in each of our Church of England secondary schools. It's been so good to meet with students who have told me about their hopes and their aspirations for the future. It's been inspiring to hear the difference that they would like to make in a world that's full of so much opportunity and many, many needs. I'm deeply thankful that in every one of those schools, teachers and students are working hard to achieve the very best educational outcomes, and doing that in a distinctively Christian framework of faith and values. These schools really are nurturing hope in the lives of thousands of young people across the county. Now, in a moment, you can hear from them yourselves, from some of the young people I met at the Samworth Academy in Mansfield. I've met, though, some inspirational Christian young leaders across all the schools, and I know that they will be such a blessing wherever they serve in the years to come. So, against the backdrop of some considerable despair in the world around us, and perhaps even in our own lives at the moment, I pray that we will enter into the deep and the profound joy of the events of that first Easter morning and be inspired to go on being a bearer of hope wherever we are and wherever we go. So may God bless you and fill you with his hope this Easter.
Hello, I'm Elliot and I'm in Year 11, and for myself in the future I'd like to go to university, probably to study physics, then go on hopefully to do some research in physics. And for the world, I'd like for the world to be able to deal with the threats that are posed to it.
Hi, I'm Ethan, Year 11. Well, what do I want for myself? When I'm older, I want to go to university and I want to become a doctor of neurology, which is the study of the brain and the electrical impulses of the body. But to get there, I'm going to need some pretty devastating grades to my social life. What do I want for the world? Well, I guess for me, it's a lot about helping people and becoming quite maybe not an inspiration to others, but someone that others can look to for advice or help.
In the future, I would like to go to a good university and get a good job and good things in life and not run into any devastating tragedies. That would be great. And for the world, just happiness, I suppose.
For myself, I want to go to university when I'm older, hopefully study an aeronautical engineering degree and become an engineer. For the world, I suppose what everyone wants, world peace, for there not to be any conflict in the world and for everyone to be happy.